Good morning. I hereby call to order this 11th meeting of the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission for the year 2024. We welcome everyone joining us in the room here today and those watching on a live stream. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. At today's meeting, which is open to the public, the Commission will act on various matters. There is no opportunity for the public to address the Commission at this public meeting. The public meeting motions, statements, and video will be available on the Commission's website later today. The first matter on this morning's agenda is the approval of the minutes of the meeting of June 13th, 2024. I would like to recognize Vice Chair Barrow as the editor of the minutes. Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you, Chairman. I have reviewed the minutes of the June 13th, 2024 public meeting and move that they be approved as submitted.
You've heard the motion by Vice Chair Barrow. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Yanora. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0, and the minutes are approved. Madam Secretary, we are ready for your presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Your various bureaus and offices have prepared the following agenda items for your consideration. Therefore, let us begin on page 1 with the recommendation from Executive Director Barrier, noting that the implementation of the strategic plan has been postponed to the public meeting of August 22nd, 2024.
Madam Secretary, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, Commissioner Zerfus.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to raise a point of personal privilege if I'm in order.
Okay, Commissioner Zerfus, go. Proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Secretary. So just related to the agenda item that's been tabled today, a quick comment. So I've been a public servant for over 20 years. This is my 5th state agency that I've worked at. And when I worked in the executive, I was helped manage multiple agencies and their day-to-day operations. And I have to say that the process and the work that was put into the strategic plan, I have never seen anything like it. And I've been part of strategic planning in some of these other venues that I mentioned, and that the hard work, the intentional and meaningful engagement by our agency staff, by commissioners, by our vested partners was phenomenal. So folks spent months working on a product with a top-notch consultant that would encapsulate our values, our collective aspirational goals, and really put us on a path to 21st century governance. And this is all in the name of better serving Pennsylvania. So I'm a little disappointed we're not voting on the strategic plan today, but that's okay, it's tabled. We'll do this on August 22nd. I tell my kids all the time that patience is a virtue, so I will remind myself that patience is a virtue. But I was really looking forward to doing this today. And maybe we need to have a couple more conversations about how we can put the best product forward, and that's okay, because we'll do that together. We're going to put the best plan forward to put the Pennsylvania PUC forward for this 21st century governance, and I just look forward to August 22nd. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Zerfus. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 2, and matters presented by Director Hafner and the Office of Special Assistants, it is recommended that the Commission adopt both items on page 2, beginning with the formal complaint of Thomas and Norma Mosley versus the Metropolitan Edison Company, and ending the omnibus with the formal complaint of John and Janet Holder and June Mikulowski versus PPL Electric Utilities.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Yanora, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 3, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed opinion and order in the formal complaint of Knox Township versus the Buffalo and Pittsburgh Railroad.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chair Barrow, seconded by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion?
Chairman, I have a conflict statement.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. Prior to joining my staff, Kayla Ross worked for I&E. She has not advised me on this matter. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Continuing on page 3, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed opinion and order in the application filed by PennDOT regarding a rail crossing in Butler County, Pennsylvania.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chair Barrow, seconded by Commissioner Zerfus. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 4, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed opinion and order in the formal complaint of Lloyd and Susan Horst versus PPL Electric Utilities.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion made by Vice Chair Barrow, seconded by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? I do have a motion in this matter. I would ask the Vice Chair Barrow to chair the meeting.
Chairman DeFrank, I recognize you for purposes of your motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. I ask that my motion be entered into the record as though I read it in its entirety. On June 2nd, 2021, Lloyd and Susan Horst filed a formal complaint against PPL Electric Utilities Corporation, alleging that PPL continually threatens to terminate their electric service to their property, although they pay their electric bills in full and on time, and that PPL seeks to switch their analog meter with a smart meter. In response, PPL filed an answer with new matter admitting in part and denying in part the material allegations of the complaint. The Horst complaint was filed after the Commonwealth Court had reversed prior Commission precedent and held that Pennsylvania law permits consumers to opt out of receiving a smart meter. After the filing of the complaint, however, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court reversed the Commonwealth Court and held that there is no provision in Pennsylvania law that allows consumers to opt out of receiving a smart meter. In between the Commonwealth Court decision and the Supreme Court decision, the Commission stayed all cases involving smart meters pending resolution of the appellate proceedings. Despite the stay, however, the presiding officer issued an initial decision on November 15, 2021, granting preliminary objections filed by PPL that argued that the Horst complaint was barred by Section 316 of the Public Utility Code and the doctrines of res judicata and collateral estoppel. PPL argued in its preliminary objection that the Commission previously determined in response to a prior complaint filed by the Horst that the Horst failed to prove by preponderance of the evidence that the installation of a smart meter violates the Public Utility Code or Commission order or regulation. The decision regarding the Horst first complaint became final on July 8, 2020. In addition to granting PPL's preliminary objection and dismissing the formal complaint, the presiding officer also directed the Secretary's Bureau to file a formal complaint in the docket of the Horst first formal complaint and identify the second formal complaint as a petition for reconsideration of the Commission's final order in that prior matter. PPL then filed an exception in response to the determination of the presiding officer to identify the second formal complaint as a petition for reconsideration in response to the first formal complaint. PPL argued that the Commission should not refashion the formal complaint as a petition sua sponte, especially when it affects the legal standards by which the pleading will be adjudicated. PPL also argued that if the second complaint were a petition for reconsideration, it would be exceptionally untimely. Finally, PPL argued that there is no reason to treat the second complaint as a petition for reconsideration, and doing so would not be in the interest of administrative efficiency and judicial economy. PPL did not accept to the underlying determination of the initial decision to dismiss the second complaint on the basis of Section 316, res judicata and collateral estoppel. I agree with PPL and believe that the exception should be granted. The presiding officer's sua sponte treatment of the second complaint as a petition for reconsideration of the first complaint was improper in these circumstances. The standard for a petition for reconsideration is different than a preponderance of evidence standard by which the complaints are examined. In addition, I agree with PPL that PPL has already demonstrated through its preliminary objection that the second complaint should be dismissed in its entirety on the basis of Section 316, res judicata and collateral estoppel, and that by redocketing the second complaint as a petition for reconsideration, the same pleading may have been responded to and addressed twice. Such efforts are inefficient. Had the horse determined to seek reconsideration of the dismissal of their first complaint, they could have filed for such reconsideration. They did not do so, and it was improper for the presiding officer to make that determination sua sponte. As a result, PPL's exception should be granted in this case. Therefore, I move that 1, that the exception filed by PPL Electric Utilities Corporation at docket number C2021-302-6448 is granted. 2, that the initial decision of Administrative Law Judge Aranda Vero in Lloyd and Susan Horst versus PPL Electric Utilities Corporation at docket number C2021-302-6448 is modified consistent with this motion. 3, that the formal complaint filed by Lloyd and Susan Horst versus PPL Electric Utilities Corporation at docket number C2021-302-6448 is dismissed. 4, that the Office of Special Assistants prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thanks, Chairman. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Yanora. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. On final adoption, is there any objection? Okay, is there any objection to using the previous roll call vote? Hearing none, the recommendation is adopted as amended by the chairman's motion by a vote of 5-0.
No, excuse me. We didn't call for nays, and I would like to be recorded as a no.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would be a no on the motion and then a no on the final matter.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's say this again. Recognizing the dissent of Commissioner Zerfus, the recommendation is adopted as amended by the motion by a vote of 4-1. Gavel's yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. See, this job's a little harder, huh? It is. Madam Secretary.
Continuing on page 4, it should be noted that the investigation into the third-party access to electric distribution company customer data has been postponed to the public meeting of August 22nd, 2024. Turning to page 5, it is recommended that the Commission adopt in an omnibus motion both items on page 5, beginning with the formal complaint of Karen Fite and Hyginio Mendoza Jr. versus the Duquesne Light Company, and continuing the omnibus to include both items on page 6, ending the omnibus with the application and petition for reconsideration filed by Wyatt's Transport, LLC.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Coleman, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 7, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed opinion and order regarding the tariff supplement and proposed rate increase filed by Community Utilities of Pennsylvania.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chair Barrow, seconded by Commissioner Zerfus. Any discussion? I do have a statement. I'd like my statement entered into the record as though I read it in its entirety. Before the Commission is the recommended decision approving the joint settlement and the general rate increase proceedings filed by Community Utilities of Pennsylvania, or CUPA. CUPA proposed a base rate changes that would increase its total operating revenues by $3.2 million, or 56.2% between its water and wastewater operations. I appreciate the diligent work of our ALJs and thank the customers of Community Utilities who participated in these proceedings and attended our public input hearings. I also applaud the statutory parties, the Commission's Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement, the Office of Consumer Advocate, and the Office of Small Business Advocate for arriving at a joint settlement that was ultimately deemed in the public interest. Having said that, I must note that I have some reservations that give me pause about the recommendation in front of us today. To begin, there are a lot of positive elements to this settlement. The final rate increase is lower than the company's initial request, a combined increase of just under $2.7 million, or 46.8%. Community Utilities agreed to raise the eligibility threshold for its low-income assistance program and make changes to its treatment of arrearages. It agreed to stop charging customers who are just trying to pay their bills by phasing out a $2.25 service fee on customers paying by credit and debit card. It agreed to evaluate options to improve service pressure and quality. Those are all positive steps, and the parties that negotiated the settlement are to be commended for making them. However, a number of customers raised serious service concerns that I believe warrant mentioning. By far, the most disconcerting fact brought to light is the lack of fire protection in much of CUPA's system. Several hydrants in the Westgate and Penn Estates areas are inadequate for fire suppression, which is alarming. Meanwhile, the Tamiment community has no fire hydrants capable of meeting state standards of 500 to 1,000 gallons per minute. I'm somewhat reassured by the company's plans to address some of these pressure issues in Westgate and Penn Estates and its agreement to develop a hydraulic model to evaluate fire suppression in Tamiment. But I remain concerned. I would urge the company in the strongest terms to take action on this issue as expeditiously as possible. While I obviously can't speak to future proceedings, I can say that I would be very displeased if this company files another rate case in 2 years and this serious public safety issue remains unaddressed. Additionally, we received several complaints of poor water quality at public input hearings. Our ALJs heard testimony about damaged appliances, water that tasted or smelled metallic, and high sediment content. Tamiment resident John Oakes, when discussing his concerns about water quality, said, "I don't even give it to my dog." Cindy Toscano, also of Tamiment, said, "I don't want to separate my white clothes anymore when I do laundry. You know why? They turn yellowish red." While the company maintains the water across the system is compliant with relevant safety standards, and the record in this case showed no serious problems, these are still troubling reports. Though lower than the company's original request, this settlement still provides it with a significant rate increase, and its ratepayers deserve the value of higher bills they'll be paying for as a result. Encouragingly, some system improvements, such as the cleaning of the tank in Tamiment and installation of a mixer, will already be underway before the end of this year. CUPA acknowledged issues with unaccounted for water rates, which have been falling but remain above commission guidelines. The company is already working with an engineering firm to design and implement virtual district metering areas in portions of its service territory. This effort will help CUPA identify and address leaks and bring its UFW rates down even further. Community Utilities also agreed to submit documentation with its next rate case about the efforts it will undertake this year to locate, uncover, repair, and isolate and replace isolation valves. Again, this is a positive step to improve service and is a commendable outcome from this settlement. After reviewing the sum of the record of this case, I believe Community Utilities still has work to do on behalf of its ratepayers. Having said that, I believe the joint settlement before us is in the public interest, and I support its approval today. Any further comments?
Chairman,
Vice Chair Barrow.
I'd like to associate myself with your statement.
Thank you. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Continuing on page 7, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed opinion and order in the formal complaint of Khalil Vinson versus UGI Utilities.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chair Barrow, seconded by Commissioner Zerfas. Any discussion?
Chair, I have a brief verbal.
Vice Chair Barrow.
I note that this matter was dismissed. It was denied and dismissed without prejudice. And so the complainant can file another complaint if he chooses to. The excuse for not appearing at the hearing was that he did not have telephone service. So if that's the case, I encourage him to refile. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 8, it is recommended that the commission adopted an omnibus motion, both items on page 8, beginning with the application and petition for reconsideration filed by La Memoire Moments, LLC, TA Traffic Jams, and ending the omnibus with the application of Golden Gate Trucking Solutions Company.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Zerfus, seconded by Commissioner Yenora. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 9, it is recommended that the commission adopt the proposed opinion and order in the application and petition for reconsideration filed by Good News Transportation, LLC.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Zerfus, seconded by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion?
Chairman, I have a motion.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. Please enter this motion into the record as though read in its entirety. Good News Transportation, LLC has filed an application for motor common carrier of persons in paratransit service. It was denied by the commission for failure to establish fitness after Good News failed to respond to data requests. Good News filed a petition for reconsideration of staff action, stating that it did not see the email request for additional documentation in a timely manner due to pressing family obligations, and also because it was expecting correspondence from the commission to arrive in the mail, not by email. The petition further states that Good News is willing to submit the additional information. Noting the discretion conferred to us by Section 1.2 of our regs, I believe the Commission can support small businesses operating in the utility sector while maintaining our regulatory standards. Because Good News is willing to provide the requested information, I believe the matter should be referred to the Bureau of Technical Utility Services to continue processing the application. Therefore, I move that the petition for reconsideration from staff action filed by Good News Transportation is granted consistent with this motion. The secretarial letter issued on May 24, 2024 is rescinded. The application of Good News Transportation is referred to the Commission's Bureau of Technical Utility Services for such further action as may be deemed necessary consistent with this motion, and that the Office of Special Assistants prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. You heard the motion by Vice Chair Barrow. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Zerfus. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. No. Motion passes by a vote of 4-1, noting my dissent. Is there any objection to taking the previous roll call? Hearing none, matter passes as amended by a motion by a vote of 4-0, noting my dissent. Madam Secretary.
4-1.
Or 4-1, noting my dissent.
Yes.
Madam Secretary.
Continuing on page 9, it is recommended that the commission adopt in an omnibus motion the application and petition for reconsideration filed by Bucksmont Airport Shuttle LLC and continue the omnibus on page 10 to include the single item on page 10, the application of Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Yenora, seconded by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 11, and matters presented by Director Diskin and the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed order regarding the York Water Company to provide water service to a portion of Reading Township, Adams County.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Zerfus, seconded by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion?
Chairman, I have a motion.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. Please add the motion to the record as though I read it in its entirety. I will not. We have an uncontested application filed by York Water Company for approval to provide water service to the public in an additional 292-acre portion of Reading Township in Adams County. The application was prompted by the proposed development of the West Holtzinger area, and that would be approximately 110 residential units with a combination of single-family homes and townhomes. The Reading Township Board of Supervisors did not object to the provision of water service to the West Holtzinger development and limited its support for the expansion of public water service to the residentially zoned portions of the properties, specifically the West Holtzinger area. The Adams County Office of Planning and Development also confirms the residential zoning of the West Holtzinger area. The cost of main extension would be borne by the developer and not by York Water's existing customers. And based on its current and planned permitted source and treatment capacity, York Water has sufficient water and treatment capacity to meet the demands in that area through the year 2050. While the application includes a request for an additional service territory consisting of 292 acres of land, because the application is centered on the West Holtzinger development, the record provides support for approval of only the West Holtzinger area, or 3.73 acres of land. Therefore, the West Holtzinger area, 37.3 acres of land. So that area zoned residential should be approved rather than the entire 292 acres of land requested by York Water. Therefore, I move that the application of the York Water Company is hereby approved in part and denied in part, consistent with this motion, that the Bureau of Technical Utility Services prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. We've heard the motion by Vice Chair Barrow. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Zerfus. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes by a vote of 5-0. Is there any objection to taking the previous roll call? Hearing none, matter passes as amended by a motion by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Continuing on page 11, it should be noted that the application of Calpine Community Energy LLC has been withdrawn by the Bureau. Turning to page 12, it is recommended that the Commission adopt in an omnibus motion both items on page 12, beginning with the application of Pay Less Energy LLC and continuing the omnibus to include both items on page 13, both items on page 14, and both items on page 15, ending the omnibus with the order canceling the certificates of public convenience of certain motor carriers.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Yanora, seconded by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 16, in matters presented by Chief Counsel Screven and the Law Bureau, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed order regarding the petition filed by PennDOT.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Coleman, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Continuing on page 16, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the proposed order in the petition for reconsideration filed by the Williams Companies regarding its declaratory order.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Zerfus, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion?
Chair, I have a motion.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. Please add this motion to the record as though read in its entirety. The Williams Company filed a petition for declaratory order seeking a determination from the Commission that its behind-the-meter solar PV system qualifies for the generation of solar alternative energy credits under the AEPS Act. In general, the Act only allows alternative energy systems to qualify to create credits of any type. An alternative energy system is defined as a facility or energy system that uses a form of alternative energy source to generate electricity and delivers the electricity it generates to the distribution system of an electric distribution company or to the transmission system operated by a regional transmission organization like PJM. The AEPS Act creates two specific exceptions for resources that may create credits and be connected directly to load: customer generators and demand-side management. Williams contends that Act 40 of 2017 modified this general rule and now allows non-customer generators, solar facilities, to create solar alternative energy credits even if directly connected to load rather than being connected to the distribution system. However, Williams relies on their reading of Act 40 is a bit selective, and it doesn't give full effect to all of its provisions. Read in full context and combined with the legislative history, the best reading of Section 2804 is that it adds the new necessary condition that a project qualified for SRECs must be located in Pennsylvania, but that all other necessary conditions existing under the AEPS Act still remain. Likewise, when the Commission interpreted Act 40, legislators involved in its passage filed comments with the Commission indicating that the purpose of this section of Act 40 was simply to close the borders. Governor Wolf's comments in particular were repeatedly clear that the, quote, clear purpose, unquote, of Section 2804 was to amend the administrative code to establish geographical limits on solar PV systems that qualify under the AEPS. No mention was made of any expansion of the interconnection requirements in order to qualify, because the sole purpose of that section was to close the borders and provide that geographic limitation, and not to change the requirement that the generator has to be connected to the distribution grid. I am not persuaded by the arguments in this petition. Therefore, I move that the petition for reconsideration be denied and that the Law Bureau prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. We've heard the motion by Vice Chair Barrow. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Zerfus. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Is there any objection to taking the previous roll call? Hearing none, the matter passes as amended by the motion by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 17, it is recommended that the Commission adopt in an omnibus motion both items on page 17, beginning with the petition for relief regarding Get Wireless Incorporated and ending the omnibus with the tentative order regarding the Act 129 Total Resource Cost Test.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Coleman, seconded by Commissioner Zerfus. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 18, and matters presented by Chief Administrative Law Judge Rainey and the Office of Administrative Law Judge. It is recommended that the Commission adopt in an omnibus motion both items on page 18, beginning with the initial decision of ALJ Ashton in the formal complaint of Jesse Williams Epps versus PPL Electric Utilities, and ending the omnibus with the recommended decision of ALJ Vero and ALJ Ashton in the proposed tariff supplement by Conneaut Lake Park Water Corporation and subsequent joint settlement.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Zerfus, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Turning to page 19, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the initial decision of ALJ Ashton in the formal complaint of Rashad McNair versus the Pennsylvania American Water Company.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Zerfus, seconded by Vice Chair Barrow. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have a statement.
Commissioner Zerfus.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Secretary, please enter the statement into the record as if I read it in its entirety, but I will not. But Mr. McNair alleges safety and water quality problems with the water service from PE American Water to his residence in East Stroudsburg, which is in Monroe County. The initial decision by Administrative Law Judge Arlene Ashton determined that Mr. McNair failed to satisfy his burden of proof related to these allegations. Although I will be voting procedurally to dismiss the complaint, I am concerned about the quality of service issues raised in this proceeding and believe that the causes of these problems should be more closely examined. In this case, I believe Mr. McNair's testimony highlights similar quality of service issues that were raised in PE American Water's recent rate case. Mr. McNair resides in East Stroudsburg, which is encompassed within the PE American Water's northeastern service region and within the territory contemplated by the Commission's order directing the investigation of the quality of service issues in that region. So accordingly, I'm requesting that the Law Bureau, in conjunction with our technical utility services folks, ensure that its ongoing investigation includes the water supply to the service territory serving Mr. McNair and the East Stroudsburg region. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zerfus. Any further comments?
Chairman.
Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you. I just want to make a brief, legal clarification. With this case, Mr. McNair has not met his burden of proof on this docket. However, we are referring his complaint or his issues, his water quality issues, to another docket. In my opinion, we should keep this docket open, held in abeyance until till the work is concluded at the other docket. So just wanted to offer my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the regular agenda. Turning now to the carry-in. On page 1 of the carry-in agenda, there is your motion, Mr. Chairman, regarding the replacement of plastic pipe.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'd ask Vice Chair Barrow to chair the meeting so I can offer a motion.
Thank you, Chairman. I recognize you for the purposes of your motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. I ask that my motion be entered into the record as if I read it in its entirety. The Commission is authorized by the General Assembly to ensure that public utilities maintain safe and reliable facilities. Safe and reliable infrastructure is crucial to achieve this mandate. Pennsylvania's aging infrastructure, as well as safety advisories issued by the United States Department of Transportation, have caused me to address the safety and reliability of natural gas distribution pipelines in the Commonwealth, as it relates to older plastic pipe materials. In 1998, the National Transportation Safety Board published a report containing the result of a special investigation into accidents concerning plastic pipe used to deliver natural gas. The report noted that although plastic piping is generally accepted as a safe and economic alternative to steel pipe or pipe made of other materials, plastic pipe installed in natural gas distribution systems from the 1960s to the early 1980s may be vulnerable to brittle-like cracking. The report suggested that more durable plastic pipe materials and more realistic strength testing has improved the reliability of modern plastic pipe and fittings. Following the NTSB's report, the United States Department of Transportation issued a total of 4 advisory bulletins between 1999 and 2007. They identified specific pipe materials that may be susceptible to brittle-like cracking. The bulletins recommended that owners and operators of natural gas distribution systems determine all pre-1982 plastic pipe installations, analyze leak histories, and evaluate conditions that may impose high stress on that pipe. The U.S. Department of Transportation recommended that remedial action, including replacement, be taken. Recently, in September 2023, a bill entitled the ADL-A Hazard Reduction and Community Safety Act was introduced in the United States House of Representatives by Representative Chrissy Houlihan. The bill would require the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Transportation to direct gas pipeline operators to assess the records and determine the presence of ADL-A piping. Operators would be required to document the total pipeline mileage and number of components identified as at delay. If an operator's records are insufficient, the U.S. Department of Transportation would be directed to establish a methodology for identifying delay. The bill would require operators to remove out-of-lay piping at all pressurized locations no later than 5 years of the enactment of the legislation. As it relates to Pennsylvania, in October 2023, the Commission issued a data request to all jurisdictional natural gas utilities to determine the approximate current mileage and number of service tees of older plastic pipe materials installed and in operation in Pennsylvania. The responses confirmed the presence of older plastic pipe materials in the Commonwealth. Therefore, I find it appropriate to propose the acceleration of replacing these older plastic pipe materials. Survey of older plastic pipe of Pennsylvania's gas distribution systems. First, a small number of public utilities distributing natural gas did not respond to the Commission's data request seeking information about older plastic pipes last year. Therefore, I propose directing the Commission's Bureau of Technical Utility Services to reissue the Commission's data request to the non-responding public utilities and direct those utilities to respond within 30 days. To carry out its duty in requiring public utilities to provide safe and reliable service, the Commission should know the full universe of older plastic pipe materials that are in operation in Pennsylvania's distribution systems. Amending LTIPs to target replacement of older plastic pipe. Second, I propose using the tools that have already been afforded to the natural gas public utilities under Pennsylvania law to aid in the replacement of older plastic pipe, namely the DISC. Act 11 of 2012 permits natural gas public utilities, among other utility types, to petition the Commission for a Distribution System Improvement Charge, or DISC. Act 11 requires the public utility to submit a Long-Term Infrastructure Improvement Plan, or LTIP, to be eligible to recover costs under a DISC. The Commission is empowered to order a new and revised LTIP if an LTIP is not sufficient to ensure adequate, efficient, safe, reliable, and reasonable service. Previously, the Commission encouraged the privatization of replacing cast iron and bare steel, and such pipe materials were installed in the first LTIPs filed by natural gas distribution companies. Significant progress has been made in the removal of cast iron and bare steel pipe in Pennsylvania's natural gas distribution systems, especially with respect to cast iron. Since 2011, when a fatal natural gas explosion occurred that involved a failure on a cast iron pipe, 81% of cast iron pipe has been removed from non-municipally owned natural gas distribution systems in Pennsylvania. That statistic shows the effectiveness of DISC. While I understand that cast iron and bare steel have not been fully eliminated, I would like to emphasize the importance of simultaneously focusing on the replacement of older plastic pipe. Therefore, I propose that NGDCs and smaller natural gas public utilities with the DISC petition the Commission to amend their currently effective LTIPs to focus on the replacement of older plastic pipe that is highlighted in the United States Department of Transportation's 4 advisory bulletins, if such plastic pipe is not already targeted to be replaced. I further propose that the amendments include all the criteria necessary to consider an LTIP, including the establishment of a schedule for the planned repair and replacement of older plastic pipe materials. Because operators of natural gas distribution systems are required to identify, evaluate, and rank all perceived threats and implement measures to address risks through the Distribution Integrity Management Plan, or DIMP, I propose the issuance of a tentative order that seeks comment on amending LTIPs to target the accelerated replacement of older plastic pipe. Pipeline replacement plans for gas utilities without a DISC. Third, in November 2011, prior to the enactment of Act 11, the Commission issued a tentative order that proposed a process for Pennsylvania's major natural gas distribution systems to implement a Commission-approved pipeline replacement and performance plan based on a utility's DIMP. In February 2013, the Commission ultimately determined not to establish a separate statewide pipeline replacement and performance plan filing requirement. The Commission found that this effort was duplicative to the Act 11 DISC regulatory scheme, and that after a review of the initial LTIP findings, many NGDCs were utilizing the DISC to facilitate the replacement of aging infrastructure. Additionally, smaller natural gas public utility systems may not be eligible to use a DISC and may have aging infrastructure present in their systems consistent of materials identified as being at risk for failure. Therefore, I believe it is prudent to revisit a pipeline replacement plan filing requirement for gas utilities that are not eligible to utilize a DISC. Similar to the proposal in 2011, the pipeline replacement plan should include 1, replacement timeframes in a proposal for the means by which the replacement of the pipeline replacement will be addressed in rates. The utilities' designs of these programs should take into consideration specifics related to each public utility, including the utility's total amount of risky pipe, customer rate stability, utility's financial health, and the amount of time that the public utility estimates to replace the at-risk infrastructure. And 2, compliance with the following pipeline replacement performance metric. The public utility's average rate of pipeline replacement during the previous 10 years, or the rate that will result in the replacement of all at-risk pipe within 20 years, whichever results in a more accelerated rate of replacement. Additionally, each non-DISC gas public utility will be required to replace at-risk pipe based upon their DINT plan for risk assessment, and the rate of replacement must be equal to or exceed their metric. A utility may request to waive compliance with the pipeline replacement performance metric if the utility's DINT plan would prohibit it from complying with the metric, or if compliance with the metric will result in unreasonable rates. Pipeline replacement plans should be filed with the Commission's Secretary's Bureau and reviewed by the Commission's Bureau of Technical Utility Services. TUS will then determine whether the plan is reasonable and will accept or reject the plan through a secretarial letter. In conclusion, I believe that pursuing the accelerated replacement of the specific older plastic pipe that has been identified by the United States Department of Transportation as being susceptible to brittle-like cracking is a worthwhile endeavor to further promote the safe and reliable service by Pennsylvania Natural Gas Distribution public utilities. Therefore, I move that 1, the Law Bureau, with the assistance of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, prepare a tentative order consistent with this motion. 2, a copy of the tentative order be served on all regulated natural gas distribution public utilities, city natural gas distribution operators, the Office of Consumer Advocate, the Office of Small Business Advocate, and the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement. 3, the Bureau of Technical Utility Services reissue the Commission October 11, 2023 data request related to a survey of older plastic pipe materials to the natural gas distribution public utilities that failed to respond, and that those natural gas distribution public utilities be directed to respond within 30 days following receipt of the data request. 4, the tentative orders shall be published in the Pennsylvania Bulletin. 5, comments shall be due within 30 days following publication in the Pennsylvania Bulletin. 6, reply comments shall be due within 45 days following publication in the Pennsylvania Bulletin. And 7, the Law Bureau, with the assistance of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, shall review the comments and all the information provided therein and shall present a final order to the Commission for consideration. Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow.
Thank you, Chairman. We've heard the Chairman's motion. Is there a second on the motion?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Coleman. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Madam Vice Chair.
Commissioner Zerfas.
Madam Vice Chair, I just wanted to say that, well, I will be voting yes on the motion, but Mr. Chairman, I wanted to thank you for your leadership in bringing this motion forward today. I think this has been some really great work done by you and your staff. We all take pipeline safety very seriously, so I appreciate highlighting the growing concern of this first-generation plastic pipe. So I look forward to the comments in whatever form this takes. Upon finalization, I'm more than happy to share the information on our collective efforts here with my NARUC Department of Energy Gas Infrastructure Task Force, so Pennsylvania can be a leader among states in how we deal with infrastructure improvement planning. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Zerfas. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. The motion's adopted by a vote of 5-0. Thank you. The gavel's yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barrow. Madam Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the carry-in agenda. Turning now to the supplemental carry-in agenda. On page 1 of the supplemental, it is recommended by the Office of Special Assistance that the Commission adopt the proposed opinion and order in the emergency application filed by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and the City of Pittsburgh.
Is there a motion to consider the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chair Barrow, seconded by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it by a vote of 5-0. Madam Secretary.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, that concludes all agenda items to be considered today.
Thank you, Secretary Chiavetta. But before we adjourn, I would like to recognize Commissioner Coleman for recognition of National 811 Day.
Thank you, Chairman. Once again, this year the Commission is joining its federal, state, and local partners in recognizing National 811 Day, this year celebrated on Sunday, August 11th, which would be 8/11 for all of us. And once again, stressing the importance of safe digging with every project. Just wanted to call to mind a couple of things here, that regardless of the size or the scope of the project, calling 811 is not only a good idea and a role that we all must play, but it's also the law. And we have our Damage Prevention Committee that does a wonderful job in enforcing that law. And I just wanted to share with you that the Damage Prevention Committee, under the direction of our Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement, is doing a fantastic job. They've just released their annual report that will give you the statistics over 2023 and exactly what's happening in the enforcement arena. One statistic that probably a bit troubling, but I just wanted to draw your attention to it, that the Damage Prevention Committee reports that in 2023, the number of investigations into alleged one-call violations has increased by 56%. An increase in 56% in 1 year, from 462 investigations opened in 2022 to 721 investigations opened last year. During that time, the Damage Prevention Committee enforcement activities resulted in the issuance of 3,158 violations to those who have been violating the law. While the numbers in these cases before the Damage Prevention Committee has also jumped in 2023, up 60% from 2022, the Damage Prevention Committee also notes that education, which is one of the key components of the work, the good work of our Damage Prevention Committee, has also continued to rise. That in 2023, the Damage Prevention Committee referred 739 parties to education. And as all of you may recall, this is the two-pronged approach that we use through the Damage Prevention Committee. The first is through fines, but more importantly is through education. And we have always stressed that the primary goal here is not to fine. Unfortunately, that's a tool that we have to use from time to time, but the more important piece is to educate. It's educating all of us to make sure that we're digging safely and avoiding potential catastrophic events. So during that period of time in 2023, the Damage Prevention Committee has referred those 739 partners. That's an increase from 401 referrals in 2022, and 106 parties referred to the education in 2021. So you can see that educational component is continuing to rise. I would also be remiss if I didn't call out our good friends at PA One Call, who do a fantastic job in education. If you're looking for resources about 811 and about educational programs, you can go to the PA One Call program, and you will find plenty of resources there to help excavators better understand the responsibilities under the One Call law. The last thing I would say is the bottom line is safety is in our hands. And I think this is a great tagline. I want to commend our communications department who's prepared my remarks for this morning. But Tom and his team have done a great job. And I really like this tagline of safety is in our hands, every dig, every time. So I'm going to suggest that we adopt that little tagline for 811. I think it's a great one, a catchy line, but it is a responsibility of all of us. So thank you this morning. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. And finally, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Zerfus for the purpose of thanking our summer interns. Can't believe it's already the end of summer. Headed back to school.
I know. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So as we wrap up our very first summer internship program and in recognition of National Intern Day, on behalf of my colleagues and myself, I wanted to take a moment so we can extend our well wishes and deepest gratitude to our summer interns. Your efforts, enthusiasm, and effective collaboration throughout your respective bureaus have made this inaugural year a success. So as you advance in your careers, we encourage you to utilize the insight and knowledge that you have acquired this summer to power your career with the same enthusiasm and commitments. We are confident that you will achieve great success in your future endeavors. So again, on behalf of myself and the Commission, we thank you for your valuable contributions. We wish you the best as you pursue your next steps and look forward to seeing where your talents take you. And I'm going to ask the interns who are here today in the room and my fellow commissioners to please stay behind for a couple minutes after public meetings so we can get a couple photos. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Zerfus. Is there any other business to come before the Commission? Hearing none. Is there any objection to adjourning the meeting? Hearing none, we are adjourned.